Hello and welcome into Live from the Plains. My name is Daniel Locke. This is Logan Fowler. Thank you for joining us on this, well, I guess Monday morning as the show comes out. Recording a little bit later in the day on Sunday than usual, but that is okay. Logan, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Had a good Sunday. Had a good little reset today. Not much action going on in the sports world or in the Auburn sports world. Um, so yeah, Auburn did pick up a pretty highly touted basketball guy today. So was this Sebastian Williams Adams?
Yep.
So
4-star guard, number 40 player in the country, according to 247 Sports. And that brings Auburn's class to, I believe, 14 nationally, according to 247. Somewhere in that range.
yeah, they got 3 4-star guys right now. So yeah, I mean, good pickup for them. But other than that, man, we've just been chilling.
Yeah, I got to see my Saints pick up their second straight dub today, convincing fashion over Jameis Winston and the Cleveland Browns. Always good to see Jameis back in the dome. Nice to see the Saints remotivated, and hopefully they can keep this going, and they finish the season 10-7 and make the playoffs, win the NFC South. It'd be an unbelievable turnaround.
Yeah,
But
this two straight after they fired old what's his name, Dennis Allen.
just Allen.
There you go.
My least favorite coach ever to coach any one of my teams.
Hmm.
Yep. But yeah, that kind of brings us to yesterday. Always good to sit by Logan Fowler in the press box. We always have some great conversations, some about the game, some not about the game. But I like sitting next to Logan because as a quarterback himself in his high school days, he can really break some stuff down that
Yeah,
I hadn't considered as an edge rusher. So that's always some good insight from him. And a lot to talk about from yesterday. In a way, some ways yes, some ways no. But I'm glad that while there was a lot of offense, it came in a lot of different ways.
yeah.
I know all the touchdowns were through the air, but Jarquez Hunter crossed the 1,000-yard threshold for the first time in his career, first Auburn running back in 3 years to do so. But I was looking today on College Football Reference at where his season, if it were to end today, kind of compares to other Auburn greats. Guess where his current yard total puts him all time, if you haven't already looked for something.
Jarquez Hunter,
This season,
all time.
like
Okay,
Auburn rushing season.
sixth
No.
on all time.
All-time Auburn football rushing yards in a season.
Oh, in a season. I don't know.
It's like 40 something.
I was gonna say it can't be too high. I mean, he just broke 1,000. There was a stretch there where Auburn went year after year after year after year with 1,000-yard rushers.
Yeah. So hopefully, I know Jarquez Hunter will be going to the NFL following this season, but hopefully for Auburn, this kind of sets a good precedent with the backs who are here with Jeremiah Cobb and Tamari Alston, and you've got Alvin Henderson coming in. So yeah, This could be pretty exciting for the future of Auburn's running back room.
Yeah. Well, yeah, obviously, congratulations to Jarquez Hunter. Um, I feel like that's probably a feat that should have been accomplished probably a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Um, this should have already have been something that he's been celebrating. But nonetheless, he is celebrating it um, with 2 games left to go. So that's awesome for him. First time in his Auburn career that he's hit 1,000 yards, and Auburn's first 1,000-yard rusher since Tank Bigsby in 2021. So that's nice. That moves him up to obviously sixth all time in the Auburn. Um, Auburn rushing yards. So Ben Tate's next. I think he only has 136 yards to go to break Ben Tate's, which is 3,321.
And realistically, 2 games to do it.
Right. So I mean, he could he could do that. He can move into the top five. So yeah, then we also, awesome for that. Like you mentioned, every touchdown comes through the air yesterday. Um, I mean, Cam Coleman obviously breakout game. Spectacular one-handed catch there in the what was that, the third quarter, I think.
Yeah.
Um, that was sensational. That was nice. I think he ended his day with 100 yards on 8 catches, so 3 touchdowns. That was awesome for him. First touchdown from since the Missouri game for him. So um, he definitely looked like the phenom freshman that everybody thought he was. And then it wasn't just him out there; it was Malcolm Simmons and no shocker, but Keandre Lambert Smith did his thing yet again. Um, I mean, he also had a spectacular grab. Just kind of leaped over some ULM defender and just kind of made a Houdini catch. Um, so he finished his day with 104 yards on 6 targets. I mean, that guy, let's see, I wrote about it yesterday. He's got 763 yards on the year. Um, that would set him up to be Auburn's most productive receiver since Seth Williams' 830-yard season back in 2019. So, I mean, you hate that it kind of comes at a time when Auburn's not winning football games, but that guy has definitely been a bright spot on that offense. And then Malcolm Simmons again poured in another great performance. He's got some breakaway speed that Auburn hasn't had at that position in quite some time.
Yeah, and he's been really impressive with it. And Ian Vachon,
There
walk
you
on,
go.
redshirt freshman, Birmingham Southern alum, or not alum, but a year ago, he played for a football team that he found out was not going to exist after the season. Just another remarkable story related to Birmingham Southern. Transfers or joins Auburn as a walk on this offseason and gets the chance yesterday. Goes 6 for 6 on PATs, 2 for 2 on field goals with a long of, I think it was 26 or
Mm,
so, somewhere in there.
I know he hit a 22-yarder.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and dig into
26.
that.
Yeah.
26.
He had a 22-yarder in the first quarter that put out Auburn up 10-0, and then the 26-yarder came late in the fourth quarter and was the second to last score of the game.
That could have been
After that,
our transition down to the media room.
yeah. And that made the score 48-7 before General Booty's garbage time touchdown.
Yep. That was yeah. I mean, so we've got a little 10 minutes into this video and we hadn't even talked about the defense.
No.
Obviously Ian, he stepped up. Um, Alex McPherson's still not 100% healthy. Doesn't look like he's probably gonna be healthy again this season. Probably take the rest of this season off, maybe, and just kind of heal back up and kick. I mean, he can still play in the last 2 games if he is good enough to go and still redshirt this year. Towns Magoo obviously been struggling a little bit with those field goals. He did handle kickoff duties yesterday, and he looked great doing it. Put every one of them, I'm pretty sure, through the back of the end zone for the most part. They might have got one return. But yeah, so hats off to Ian for coming in there and locking down those place kicking duties. But moving on to the defensive side of the ball, I mean, the defense, man, they played. Obviously they held the talent advantage at pretty much every position on the field. But 70 yards in the first half, no score, or held them scoreless. Um, and then they come out on the first drive of the second half. ULM does, and then they march down the field, 8 plays, 76 yards. Um, and then Auburn holds them to um, at one point in the fourth quarter, they had -7 yards total. So, that was right up until I actually was sitting in the media room typing out that stat. And then as I look up on the TV, General Booty has thrown a 65-yard touchdown with like 15 seconds left. So I had to delete it
Yeah,
all.
I I had to change some things because of that too.
So, I mean, yeah, you take away the 65-yard play there at the end, literally, like I said, 15 seconds left, and then if you shore up some things on that opening drive of the half, you hold that team to 100 yards of total offense in the game. Um, so, I mean, yeah, that was they played great. All the leading tacklers in the game was Jaron Thompson, Caleb Harris, and K and Lee, all those are in that back end of that defense and that secondary, and that secondary group, man, they have really come. I think they might be the most impressive unit on the defense. I mean, at the beginning of the year, we were sitting here talking about, okay, so this secondary group is getting exposed. They don't look very good, and so, yeah, I mean, now this secondary group playing a lot of young guys, like I just mentioned, Caleb Harris, Kayan Lee, Jay Crawford. I mean, those guys are showing out, and that's definitely I would say that that's probably been the best unit on defense thus far. Is that secondary group?
Yeah, I would agree. Um, they've just been because early in the year they were struggling.
Hmm. I mean, they
Um,
were struggling to New Mexico, and I mean Fernando Mendoza
yeah.
lit them up in the first half of that Cal game.
Mhm.
Not to knock anyone, but you kind of notice Keontae Scott hasn't been playing very many snaps back there, and things seem to kind of get a little bit better. Um, I'm not. He was there yesterday. He wasn't hurt. But sorry, dude. It's almost 9 o'clock. Um,
Yeah, it's bedtime.
he was there yesterday. He was moving around great in warm ups. He has kind of dealt with some nagging injuries here and there, but that defensive back room, God, they improved when his snaps became limited.
Yeah,
And
and
I feel like you're probably about to say this, but I'm sorry to cut you off.
okay,
Devontae Scott was probably your best player on defense last year. He's definitely one of them. I mean, that guy
yeah,
was when he announced that he was going to transfer at the end of last year. That would have been a super big hit to your defense last year
mhm.
or this year.
Yeah, and I like him for Auburn a lot more in that nickelback position,
Hmm.
as opposed to one of the main corners. So I still think that he's a very talented defensive back. I just don't think he was being used correctly. So I'm kind of it's odd that he hasn't been put back into that position and has kind of just been taken off completely. Not completely. He still gets snaps, but I guess they found that Caleb Harris, I think, is playing in that role and doing a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
Caleb Harris is kind of slotted in back there at that safety spot with Jaron Thompson, but you've
right.
seen a lot of Sylvester Smith. Um, Keontae, he was playing some nickel there for a minute. He obviously
Mhm,
started off, on the other side of K and Lee at cornerback, and then he kind of did move in and play a little bit of nickel. But who knows? I'm sure he could, see the field here in the next 2 weeks. They'll obviously need all the guys they can get on the field. But yeah, interesting.
I would agree. And so we kind of after every game, we always kind of talk about the implications that it had or has for the rest of the season. I don't really feel like there's anything too new to add. Obviously, we were saying that if Auburn had lost yesterday, there's a very good chance that John Cohen was going to come in and talk to us after the game. Or maybe not very good, but a chance. Obviously, with the win yesterday, Hugh Freeze, barring anything unforeseen, will be the coach when Auburn opens up the season against, I don't know who they play week 1 next year, but I feel
Baylor.
like the odds of that are good. Very
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Almost
yeah.
like certain. Can't take anything for granted. No one's promised tomorrow, but yeah. Um, Auburn's bowl hopes live to see another week. I feel like the schedule would have worked out better for them if they'd gotten to play Texas A&M this week, coming off the bye, and then get to play ULM as a tune-up for the Iron Bowl. But obviously, that's not the way the cookie crumbled. You got ULM this week. Then they have to take on number 15 Aggies this coming Saturday. And so we're 6 days out. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your confidence level that Auburn could upset Texas A&M? I'm sitting at about a 5 right now. Not
I like.
saying that I think that there's a 50-50 chance. I just that's my confidence in Auburn to pull it out.
So I'll go as far as to say I think there's a 50-50 chance. You got a night game in Jordan-Hare. I'll be
Mhm.
interested to see if the student section's loud and proud. Students are obviously going home for Thanksgiving
I
break
think
this
it
week.
will be just because there hasn't been a night. Sorry to cut you off, but there hasn't been a night game in Jordan-Hare against a big opponent this year. I don't think.
It's first night game all year.
Well, no, Alabama and A&M and New Mexico are both night games.
First night game, first SEC night game
Yeah,
all
right.
year. Anywho, I do think it, I mean, Texas A&M, they're obviously, I think they're ranked 15. I didn't look at the
Mhm.
AP poll that came out today, but
No, I haven't looked at the new one.
um, they're a solid team in the SEC. But I mean, Auburn could definitely pull this off, especially in Jordan-Hare. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's kind of I saw a thing today. It was Cal has obviously after that Auburn win or after non-con play, Cal has just not really looked good over there in the ACC.
No.
I think they're at 5-5 on the year, maybe.
And isn't Florida State's one win over them?
I mean,
That's
they haven't looked good. And then I saw where New Mexico beat 18th ranked Washington State yesterday. I mean, Oklahoma obviously just not. They have not looked good. Oklahoma, their offense has been one of the worst in the entire country. And then obviously you look at Mizzou yesterday. It really since the Auburn win. I mean, just Mizzou hasn't looked good. So when you go back and you look at all these games and losses that Auburn has, I mean, you really think about what could have been if just a couple of plays were made. I mean, I really say, I mean, I think that if a couple of plays were made at the end of games, I mean, this is obviously no hot take. This is not a shocker, but if you make a couple of plays in a couple of games, you're sitting here with one loss, and that's to
yeah.
Georgia in Athens. So, but obviously, no sense in talking about that because it didn't happen, and so Auburn is now at what is it, 4-6?
4-6, yep.
Is that where we're at? So there we go. But anywho, my confident. I'll go. Let me go back to the answer to the question. I'll put it at a 5.5.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like we're on about the same page with that. So with that, let's say it happens. Auburn gets it done. 5-6 on the season. Then you go into Bryant-Denny Stadium against an Alabama team who will most likely be coming off a win against Oklahoma. And that would make Alabama a 9-2 going into that game. Most likely not. I doubt Alabama will be in Atlanta.
Dude, there's a chance that this SEC race for Atlanta gets wild. Pretty much if everything stands as it does right now, and then Texas A&M beats, well, hold on. I'm sorry, dude. Texas A&M, obviously, if they win against Auburn, and then they beat Texas in 2 weeks, you've got a 5-way tie for who's going to Atlanta. You've got a 2-loss Tennessee team, a 2-loss Alabama team, a 2-loss Georgia team, a 2-loss A&M team, and a 2-loss Texas team.
Did the SEC ever announce what the tie off?
I don't know. I saw Peter Burns from
the tiebreaker criteria is.
Yeah, Peter Burns posted something yesterday on Twitter.
I'm sure point differential is a part of it.
Yeah, you go to a bunch of different tiebreakers when that happens, but I'd hate to be the one that has to go through all that. But that's a very realistic, scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting back to Auburn and Alabama. Yeah, so I mean, if Auburn can pull off the win against Texas A&M and then head into Tuscaloosa, 5-6, like you said, Alabama's playing pretty good football right now. Since that loss to Tennessee, they've kind of looked a little bit different. Seems like they've kind of figured out, that Jalen Milroe is the one of the more talented players with the ball in his hands. So yeah, I mean they've kind of, I won't say necessarily turned it around, but they've looked pretty good as of recent.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think I saw something on three's Blake Byler tweeted yesterday after the game that I think Kalen DeBoer is the first Alabama coach to start the season to have 8 wins in his first season since Ray Perkins in 1983, who followed Bear Bryant. So,
I mean, yeah, that
granted,
seems about
neither Kalen or Ray had to do any rebuilding.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, Kalen DeBoer definitely inherited a a very talented roster. So
yeah, for sure. So I had a question leading into that. I can't remember what it was. I guess if Auburn can beat Texas A&M, what's your confidence that they can go on and win the Iron Bowl?
I mean, I'll put it again at another 4.5, 5. I just like I said, Alabama's been playing pretty good football. It's in Tuscaloosa. Alabama's the more talented team. So, I don't see an Iron Bowl win on Auburn's schedule this year, but I will never rule out the possibility of anything happening in an Iron Bowl. So, yeah, I mean, while I'm not very confident that Auburn can pull off that win, I still, I won't say no just quite yet.
Yeah. I don't really know what my level of confidence on that is. I think if Auburn beats Texas A&M, which ESPN's analytics give them a 41.9% chance of doing so, I would say I think there's about a 20% chance they beat Alabama. If they
Yeah.
lose to Texas A&M, I think that drops to about 10, in my opinion. But I think I'm good on football for tonight. If you are,
Yeah. We
awesome. Switching
had a
to, or
little bit
sorry,
more to talk about. So I was just saying we had a little bit more to talk about this week with a win.
yeah. So going back to the hardwood, the top five Auburn Tigers. Um, Warren Kimpom, I think. I don't know
Hmm.
if they still are, but after the win over Kent State, they were host the 3-1 North Alabama Lions Monday night at 8 p.m. on SEC Network. Ban 8 p.m. tip offs, particularly if it's the night before I have an 8 a.m. class, which
Yeah.
in this case it is. And you and I will have to suffer through that 3 times next semester.
Hmm. Interesting.
Hopefully, Dr. Nelson gives us some grace in our photojournalism class. Yeah, but the spread for this game is 26.5. I think Auburn covers. It's going to be a while before, or actually, it won't be since after this they go to Maui. I was about to say it'll be a while before there's a spread. I don't think Auburn can cover, but after this game, it the or it's hard to say the competition level takes a significant jump because Auburn's already played a team in Houston who's definitely going to be probably a top five seed this season at worst, and two teams that could very well be NCAA tournament teams.
Yeah. And then I mean this North Alabama team, man. This is another pesky opponent coming into Neville Arena. They've won all of their games have been by combined of they've won all of their games by combined 70 points. They're coming off of a 1 point loss to Sanford and in overtime last week. So I mean, this is still a really good kind of like I said, annoying kind of pesky North Alabama team. They're picked to go third in the ASUN, and they had two preseason All ASUN, picks, and Jakari Lane and Daniel Ortiz. Jakari Lane's averaging 22.8 points per game, 44.8% from 3 point range. Ortiz, he came from UAB last year. He averages 6.6 points. Or he averaged 6.6 points last year. Um, I think he's up to 7. I'm just kidding. That was his freshman year that he did that. He averaged 14.8 points last year, and I think he's at 7th right now. But so yeah, I mean, it's still like a really, like I said, annoying team to play against. North Alabama, they're averaging 12.5 steals a game, which is 9th nationally. So yeah, I mean, just like I guess you could call this a tune-up game. I still don't think Auburn's going to have any real trouble picking up a win against North Alabama in Neville Arena. Um, so yeah, obviously you wanna kind of use this as a opportunity to get some. I mean, I can't sit here and say that not to overlook them and then say use this as some practice time, but as some practice time, I'll say before you take off to Maui and play potentially 3 top 10 teams, top 15 teams over there in the Maui Invitational.
Yeah, yeah. I would agree with that. I think I think if you're Auburn, you want to cover um that spread, even though that's a lot of points to cover. A 27-point victory, no matter who
Mhm.
the opponent is, like that could be a tall task.
Mhm.
But you're going to want to play 40 complete minutes because a week from tomorrow, like we kind of already talked about, you get to play number 7 Iowa State,
Mhm.
not on your home floor. Um, thousands of miles away from your home floor at that.
Yeah, I saw a comment um, on some post on Twitter. Basically, somebody was hating on Auburn for not playing all these non-con games on the road. And I, for people who are listening on Spotify, I did some quotation marks around that because um, while Auburn, yes, they're going to Cameron Indoor, and I think that's technically the only road. Out of all these tough games on the non-conference, dude, I figure out how to do something on this screen every time. Anywho, um, you get to go to Cameron Indoor, and that's a true road game. Houston, while it was a road game. Okay, it was 5 minutes from campus. That's a road game. You're obviously playing Ohio State in Atlanta, playing Purdue and Birmingham, and then obviously the Maui Invitational. But they were hating on Auburn for not playing true road games. I'm just like, yeah, but you're also not playing any of these games at home either. So I
Right.
mean, you're definitely getting battle tested. I mean, like I said, like you said, starting next week. It really doesn't get any easier. Purdue obviously took down number 2 Alabama on Friday. So while they don't have Zach Edey, that's still not a team you overlook. Um,
Right.
yeah. So I mean, this Maui Invitational is going to be fun to watch. A lot of talented teams on over there.
Yeah, and Auburn could end up, I think, playing Iowa State, North Carolina, and another
It's
top
Dayton.
opponent, Dayton.
I thought it was UConn at first, and
Yeah, I did too.
sorry to everyone who thought that, or who listened to me and took away that Auburn would be playing UConn and Maui, but yeah, it is Dayton, Iowa State, and North Carolina. Still tough. That's still pretty tough right there.
Yeah, that's if they can return from that trip, I guess at that point it'd be 7-0. There is a serious argument that this team should be number 1 in the AP poll.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's
Do
already
they have
already
do
an
they have
argument
any
for that.
sorry, go ahead.
There's already an argument for that.
And then do they have any time to breathe between that and Duke? I don't think so.
Yeah, you get back from the Maui Invitational on the 27th is your last day over there, and then you're going and playing Duke on December 4th. So,
Yep.
I mean,
Then 10 days later, you play another ranked opponent.
right,
And
yeah,
then 7 days after that, you've got another ranked opponent. Like, I knew that this non-conference schedule was ridiculous, but when you actually, like, stop to look at it, it's dang.
it's tough, absolutely, but
Yeah.
I think it's great. I really
Mhm.
do. Um, and like I was talking to somebody earlier. Um, as we're sitting here talking, man, Auburn's got a tough non-conference schedule. They got to be worried about Duke. They got to be worried about North Carolina, Iowa State, Ohio State. They got to be worried about all these teams. I was like, well, I mean, these teams got to be worried about Auburn too. Okay, this is not, let's not ignore the fact that Auburn is the number 1 team in the Ken Palm rankings, number 2 in offensive efficiency, number 5 in defensive efficiency. I mean, this is this is one of the better teams in all of college basketball, and people got to respect that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, also, you look again at this non-conference schedule, and like we said, there have been some really pesky opponents. Vermont, Kent State was a they didn't go away the other night. Cut that lead down to 5. North Alabama. I mean, there are, dude. I don't know what it is when you put a microphone in front of my mouth. It's like I am going to yawn. That's weird. Um, but yeah, even these like mid-major um, opponents that Auburn are playing, I mean, they're still pretty good.
trying to think if there's anything else I want to add. Oh, we'll talk about it a little bit here. So Auburn added, like as Logan and I alluded to at the top of the show, Auburn added its third recruit to its 2025 recruiting class, basketball, that is. Sebastian Williams Adams, a four-star power forward. I believe I said he was a guard earlier. I misspoke. Power forward. He had an official visit on September 6th, about a month and a half ago. Almost a consensus top 50 player. 247 is the highest on him, number 44 in the country. He's the highest rated recruit in his class now. And he joins Caden Magwood and Simon Walker, who both signed their letter of intent this week. So hopefully Williams Adams follows suit with that soon. And with the addition of Williams Adams, Auburn's 2025 recruiting class is ranked 14th nationally according to 247.
There you go. That's
and all that was from an article I wrote earlier today over at Auburn on SI. So if none of that's stuck in your brain and you want to read that, there you go.
I'll go check that out. Yeah, so obviously we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but Bruce Pearl's got a massive rebuild on his plate next year.
Yeah, graduating 10 seniors, right?
Graduating 10
seniors plus.
Graduating 10 guys. You return to Hod Pettiford and Ja'Kai Howard. I mean, so obviously, I think they've kind of got their eyes set on one more guy, 5-star, kind of a guard, wing type guy, and I'm probably going to mispronounce his name, Sean Abiv. He's like I said, 5-star kind of wing guard who can score, shoot, smooth left-handed jump shot. I think he's announcing pretty soon. So obviously Auburn's going to be pushing there, and then they're turning their eyes to the transfer portal after that. So yeah, just keep on pushing. It's kind of funny how basketball recruiting works. You never really hear anything about it until you do, and then you hear. I mean, just like everything comes at once with basketball recruiting.
Yeah, because it seems like the football classes are, you're working on a class 2 years ahead. Because I feel like Auburn's already got a handful of guys in the 2026 class, and it's 2024. So, but it seems like basketball it all tends to be,
yeah,
because there are multiple top 50 basketball players who are still not committed in the 25 class, and I feel like it's rare to see a top 200 football guy who's not committed by now.
Yeah, you make a good point. I mean, obviously, college coaches are working on these guys years and years and years in advance. But yeah, you don't. I don't know. You don't see those guys kind of commit so soon and ride it out like you might see in football.
Agreed. But yeah, Bruce Pearl seems to really be looking towards the younger kind of mold. Obviously, like we said, he'll have 10. He's expected to have 10 spots to fill. So you've got 3, so that means 7 transfers. So this team next year still could end up being one of the older ones in college basketball.
Yeah, they could. It's just, transfer portal. You get guys who have never played together before, come from everywhere. So it's a blessing and a curse, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. But, it's just the era of college athletics we're in, I guess. All right. You can follow me on Twitter or X at Daniel J. Locke. You can check out my written work at Auburn Tigers on SI.com. If you want to just keep up with my day-to-day life, you can follow me on Instagram at the Daniel Locke if you're so inclined. Logan's all over the place as well.
I'm all over the place. You can follow me on X or Twitter at Logan F. Fowler, and then check out my written work with 1819 News and the Auburn Plainsman.
Awesome. And with that being said, we will both have basketball coverage tomorrow night, so we would greatly appreciate any support over there on X or Twitter. We'd also appreciate the page views on our written work. It means a lot to know that there are people out there reading and that we're not just shouting into the void. And I'm pretty sure my mom is tired of receiving every single article that I ever write in a text message. So I'm sure she'd appreciate some other readership. I'm just kidding. I'm confident that I've got more than one reader out there, but you never know some days. I've been Daniel Locke. That guy's been Logan Fowler. This has been Live from the Plains, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon.